Okay, hello, Algebra 2 block class, 5th and 6th hour. So how this is going to go, I'm teaching the lesson for Thursday. And then what you're supposed to do on Thursday is during 5th hour, when a sub is in class, watch me do this lesson. Do so with the sub will give you the papers for that day. Do the lesson. And then when Miss Munger gets here during 6th hour, she will give you a classwork. You'll do the classwork during 6th hour and check in with her as you would normally. That's going to happen on Thursday and on Friday. So there's going to be two lessons on this video. I'll tell you when the first lesson is over, stop, do the classwork during 6th hour of that day, and then go to the same video at that same point that you paused today and fast forward to Friday's lesson. Yeah, hopefully it runs smooth. Okay, so let me get this going again. You can stop, slow it down, go back as you're going through this. So let me share my screen. They changed some of the features here. Oh no. Pause for technical difficulties, please, while I figure out how to share a screen. They've changed this feature from where it used to be. There it is. No, they didn't. Maybe I just couldn't find it. Okay. All right, now we're cooking with gas. There we go. Okay, so you have this in front of you, this problem. You have the formulas. I printed it on top of the sheet. And you also have these tables to work with. So what we're working on is writing the rules. So the rules that you're given, like the format of these rules based on these tables. Okay. So first of all, let's use our old skills and look and see, okay, 32 to 16. So 16 divided by 32. I found that that is 1/2 or 0.5. Okay. Is 0.5 times 16 8? Yes, it is. Is 0.5 times 8 4? Yes. So I found that I have a ratio here of 0.5. You could also put it as 1/2. That doesn't matter. And this is a geometric sequence. Okay. In the first term is 32. Okay. So my first term, just to make note of this, I want to just make sure like, hey, my a of 1 equals 32. So when I'm writing this rule, I would say, okay, a of n. I go down to my uh, terms here. I go to my geometric, or sorry, my sequence up here, and I would say, okay, my a of 1 term. Don't write a of 1. Write what the first term is. The first term is 32. Don't write r. Write what the rate is. I'd say put it in parentheses. 0.5. And then n minus 1. That just stays n minus 1 the whole time. Okay. All right, let's look at this next one where we're dealing with what's 8 minus 4 equals 4. 12 minus 8 also equals 4. If I add 4 to 12, do I get 16? Yes, I do. So this is arithmetic. And my difference here is equal to 4. Okay, so look on your sheets. You have an arithmetic formula, which you can use. So if you have an arithmetic sequence, you're going to take a of n. Again, a of n just says a of n. It's just a fancy way of saying y, like we're saying y equals here. So a of n equals d. Don't write d. Write what you found the difference to be. We found the difference to be 4, which is right there. N minus 1, just keep n minus 1 inside the parentheses. And then don't write plus A1. You're not adding 1. You're not adding steak sauce to this. You're adding my first term. A of 1 is right here. A of 1 equals 4. So what I need to do is have instead of writing A1, I'm writing 4. Okay. Right. It's not a long lesson. So, guys, a lot of you might be done ahead of time. Okay, so we just did the table. All right, so I guess I got a little ahead of myself because we did it was on the first page to just say if it was geometric or arithmetic and find the difference in the rate. We just did that. Okay, and then we wrote the rules. We found that the rule was, or sorry, that the rate was 0.5 and that the first term was 32. Okay, so what this question is asking me to do is to, once I've written the formula, so we wrote the formula. So with our formula, the only thing we need to replace, so we have A of n equals my first term times the rate to the power of n minus 1. Okay. We know what the first term is. It's 32. The rate, put it in parentheses, 0.5. I think it's easier if you use decimals here. If you put 1/2, that works as well. And then n minus 1, that doesn't change. So we're going to use this rule to figure out my 22nd term, A of 22. So all you're really doing, if you wanted to keep multiplying this by 1/2 and go all the way to the 22nd term, you can do that. Okay. Like the 6th term is going to be 1 and the 7th term is going to be 0.5. You can just keep doing that. Okay. But something you can also do is plug your numbers into the formula. And I think this is going to be the more efficient method to doing this. So 32 doesn't change. That's still my first term. 0.5 doesn't change. That's still my rate. I need to go to the power, and in your calculator, there's a little caret button there. You need to go to the power of n minus 1. Well, if n is 22, then that means n minus 1 is 22 minus 1. 22 minus 1 is 21. And we found out, whether you took the long way or you took the formula way, you should find out that your 22nd term is 0.0000. That's a lot of zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. And then 1, 5, 2, 5, 9. 1, 2. Ooh, I even said it wrong. See? 1, 5, 2, 5, 9. All right, let's do the same thing with the arithmetic sequence that we found. Again, we know this is 0.4, or adding 4 every time, so the difference here is 4. It's arithmetic. Now, a lot of you might decide, hey, I'm just going to keep adding 4 every time. 16 plus 4, my 5th term would be 20. My 6th term, 24. Just keep going till you get to your 22nd term. And if you do that, that's your choice. You can. But if you know the first term, which is 4, and you know the difference, you can plug this formula in. So you can say, again, A of n equals the difference, n minus 1. So that's our previous term, plus our A1. Well, now we know that the difference is 4. We're going to multiply that by n minus 1 and add 4, because that's our first term. You're replacing that. Okay, if you want to find your 22nd term, you're just replacing the n with 22. So A of 22 equals 4. 22 minus 1 plus 4. So again, you're doing 22 minus 1, which is 21. adding 4 to that. 4 times 21 is 84. And 84 plus 4 is 88. So whether you took the long way, I don't know which way was longer this time, but either way, you should end up at 88. Okay, pause, wait for Miss Munger, do your classwork in 6th hour, but it should, the part that most people make mistakes on is plugging in these numbers, the substitution part. So just make sure you're substituting that and practicing on the classwork. All right, let's move on to Friday's lesson. So what I'm about to show you here is Friday's work. If you're doing this on Thursday, I guess if you're done early and you haven't done the classwork yet, you can watch this, but this is like directly from your exams. So like getting better at this is going to be pretty good. Okay, this is Friday's lessons. Hello, happy Friday, everyone. Sorry I couldn't be there, but we'll move on. All right, so what is happening here? So for sequence A, it says describe a way to produce each new term from the previous term. Okay, so what we're just saying with our words. So we're just saying, okay, what is happening here is we are adding 5. So if you did 8 minus 3, you would get 5, right? And 8 plus 5 gives you 13. So every time here, we're adding 5. We can see that we're going up by the same amount. Okay, so we're adding 5. That's our difference. So we want to say, where do we start? Okay, starting from our first term, start at -7, then add 5 every time. Okay. Okay. Sequence B, I'll change colors here. Now we can see this curve here. We can see it looks like it's geometric, but let's just make sure. So if I have my XY values, I have 1, 2, and then 2, 4, right? And then 3, 8. And 4, 16. And then 5, 32. Okay, I wasn't sure. It looks to me like I'm multiplying by the same thing every time. But again, to find the ratio, 4 divided by 2, that equals 2. That checks out. 2 times 2 is 4. Is 4 times 2 8? Yes, it is. Is 8 times 2 16? Yes, it is. Okay, so we're geometric here. So for sequence B, we're geometric. What's happening every time for sequence B? So we're starting at 2. That's our first term. Then multiply by 2 every time. Okay. All right, so can we write a rule for sequence A? Absolutely, we can. All right, so all we need to do, we just figured out our difference, right? Our difference is 5. And our first term is -7. So if I've got a first term and a difference, I can then make my rule based on A of n equals, remember for the arithmetic sequence, we're going to have the difference times the previous term plus the first term. So A of n equals 5 times n minus 1. It says to add the first term. If it's a negative number, you can subtract it. So there's my rule. Sequence B. Again, for B, we found the ratio, the rate. We found the ratio was 2. The first term is also 2. Okay. So what we need here is to do our A of n is going to equal my first term times the rate, or the ratio, n minus 1. So A of n equals, my first term is 2. My rate, I like to put it in parentheses, is also 2. Then n minus 1. And then down here, I'm going to use this. I'm going to use the I'm going to use the rules or use the table. I'll show both ways. Okay. So A of 7, to find A of 7. Okay. If you're going to use the table, okay, you could go to the 6th term. And again, we're adding 5 every time, right? So this would be 18. And the 7th term would then be 23. So A of 7 is 23. Okay. If you wanted to use the formula, you could say, okay, what is 5? So A of 7, rewrite that. See, I have the bar, the zoom bar at the bottom of my screen, so I've got to like move it around. Hopefully that doesn't block. I don't know what you guys see, but it was blocking my view. Okay, so if we had the formula, we would say, okay, we have A of 7 equals 5 times 7 minus 1, aka 6, and then we're going to take 7 away from that number. So what is 5 times 6? 5 times 6 is 30. 30 minus 7 is 23. So you could use the formula, or you could just simply build on what you've already done on the table. If you're just going from the 5th term to the 7th term, I'd probably just use the table. If you're going, we did 22nd term on the previous lesson. Probably use the formula for the 22nd term. But if you're just going 2 more terms, probably easy just to knock that out. Okay, so let's find B of 7. Okay, and again, we already have, this was my 5th term was 32, and I'm multiplying by 2 every time. So I could just say, hey, I'm going to multiply this by 2, 64. Multiply 64 by 2. That gives me 128. There's my 7th term. If you wanted to use the formula, the 7th term equals 2 times 2 to the power of n minus 1. We're doing 7 minus 1, which would be 6. Okay. 2 to the power of 6 is 64. I think. Yeah, double check me on that. 2 to the power of 6 is 64. Multiply that by 2. And again, you get 128. Okay, pause. Ms. Munger's going to have your classwork for you during 6th hour. But go over that with the classmates that you're with. Stay off the phones and just work with Miss Munger in 2nd hour. You'll have problems just like this. And I will see you on Monday when we'll start studying for the test. Your test will be next week. I forget if Tuesday or Wednesday. Okay. Oh, that just paused my screen sharing. I need to pause the recording.